Hi there YouTube, and welcome to another vlog. I'm in an area today that I've visited quite a few times. It's called Durstone Wood, but I'm on a completely new, but I'm taking a footpath that I've never followed before, so this area that I'm in now is, it's a bit slippy underfoot. Had a lot of rain over the last 24 hours, but I'm in an area that I've never been through before, so we'll see what there is to photograph, if indeed anything at all. So the good thing about the area that I'm in is that it all looks very old and ancient, and it's obviously a natural forest, a natural wood. It's not man-made sort of plantation forest. So excuse me. So all of the trees are very old and gnarly. Got lovely moss on them and ivy growing up them, and the forest floor is very natural looking as well. There's lots of boulders and moss and ferns and dead brown leaves of all different kinds everywhere. So this is a nice area. I'm already seeing a few interesting trees with some interesting features to photograph. So what I'm going to do, I've seen a tree over to the left of me I quite like the look of. I think one of the things I need to stop doing in my vlogs is attempting to name the trees. I've got two choices here: either shut up about trees, stop trying to name them because I don't know what I'm talking about, or spend an awful lot of time learning about trees. I can't be bothered to do that, so I'm not going to attempt to name them. I'm just going to, you can tell me what they are if you know. If you're educated in terms of trees, then tell me what they are. I shall just photograph them. So the first image that I'm taking today is the tree that you just watched me framing up. I love the way it kind of leans out to the right, and then the branches kind of lean back the other way. And there's one in particular, well actually there's two in particular that kind of, one kind of leans out and then up, and the other one kind of leans almost straight out, but they meet and cross over, which looks quite nice. And then either side of them there's either side of it there's another couple of trees that frame it quite nicely. I've zoomed in to about 120 mil. I've got the 70 to 300 on because I want to cut out the sky. Now on the floor we've got some beautiful green moss covered rocks, contrasted with the brown sort of dead ferns and bracken. And then on the two trees that frame the main tree, got some lovely sort of dark green winter ivy growing up the trees, and the main tree is covered in moss. So all in all, it's quite a colourful image for saying we're in the middle of winter. Now, I want to quickly talk about polarizers. If you're wondering what filters you should have as a landscape photographer, and particularly a woodland photographer, I would say that probably the most important filter of all, before you start getting into ND filters and grad filters and all the rest of it, is a polarizer. I literally don't, I can't think of any landscape photographer that I know of that doesn't use a polarizer. The one I use is the Haida M10 filter system, and I'll just zoom in so you can see how the polarizer works on this filter system. Okay, so like all filter systems, let me just take this off so you can see. So you have your ring adapter that fits to the front of your lens, and then with the M10 system, this clips on. There's a little lever on the side that you press down with your thumb, clips on. So yeah, you clip that on the side. Now the polarizer, there's two little buttons there, you press them and it lifts out, and there's the polarizer. So it just slots in there, and that's it. And then there's a little turn wheel on the top so that you can adjust the level of polarizing effect that you want. So what a polarizer does is that it takes away reflection and glare from moisture and things like that. So if you're using it on water, it'll take away the reflection so that you can actually see through the water. It basically acts like a pair of sunglasses. And on trees and in woods and forests, it helps to saturate and enhance the colours a little bit. Right, let's get on and take the photograph. So, I'm not going to talk about settings, I'll post them up on the image. So I'm just going to check my focus again now, because I've been moving around a little bit. I've nudged a few things. There we go. Underexposing by a whole stop. I think I've got my 2-second timer on. Let me just have a look. Yes. Autofocus and image stabilization switched off. Just a quick word about that, because I've been asked about it. If you leave the autofocus on on your lens, or if you've got it inbuilt in your camera, if you've set your camera up on your tripod and then you've manually focused, when you press the shutter button, that will tell your camera or your lens to refocus, and your camera might decide to focus on a different area to the one that you've selected. And with the image stabilization, that is meant to stabilize your lens when you're hand holding and if there's any slight vibration. If it's sitting on a tripod and it's perfectly still, the image stabilization motor in the lens will still kick in, but it'll cause some vibration, so you end up with a blurred image. So just switch those things off. If you're working with a tripod and you're manually focusing, you don't need either of them. With a 2-second timer, that camera's not going to move now. It's perfectly still, and there's my image. Well, it just so happens that my next image was pretty much right behind me. Beautiful tree. I nearly said what I think it is then, but I said at the start, didn't I? I'm not going to name trees because I don't really know what I'm talking about. So you can tell me what you think it is. I've got a good idea, but I'm going to keep it to myself. It is a magnificent tree though, that's for sure. And it's got some amazing roots and stuff growing up around it. It's got some amazing, I don't know what they are, I don't know whether they're roots or whether they're roots from ivy or something like that, but it is just amazing, this tree. It's got loads of moss growing all over it. Now in my foreground, I've got some really nice moss covered rocks and the brown leaves. Now there's quite a bit of sky in this shot, but it's very, very grey, so there's no real harsh light, so I'm not too worried about it. And I think we'll just maybe need to just slightly level up a little. That's better. I can't say enough about this leveling base on this tripod. It's just, I don't know how I lived without it before I had it. Right, because I've moved my camera, even that slight movement, I'm going to check my focus again. And it did actually move it, believe it or not. Just that slight movement did move the focus. Now, again, I'm underexposing by a whole stop. What else can I say about this image? Not a lot really. The background is basically lots of trees and the sky. So I'm just going to take it. And there we go. such an amazing woodland, this. Spoiled for choice. Everywhere I turn, everywhere I look, I'm seeing potential images. I've seen a tree here that I like. Just not sure which angle to photograph it from, and whether or not to include some of the other trees that are around it. Right, I'm going to set up right here at this spot, and I think that could work. What I've just seen through the camera, that could work. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. Okay, let me just talk you through the image then. So I'm going to video it with this camera. So, right hand side of the frame there, we've got this really old gnarly tree, and then in the middle of the frame we've got one that twists back into that tree, and on the left of the frame we've got another tree with part of it grows straight up, and then there's a twisty sort of bough coming out of the side that twists up into the left hand corner, and then just behind there in the middle we've got one growing straight up with some really nice coloured moss on there. The only reservation I've got about it is in the foreground on the floor there's a huge fallen log on the floor, which it's too big, too heavy to move, and I'll probably end up making more mess than there already is, so it's just going to have to be there. Maybe that could be my foreground interest, a dead log with moss on it. Right, just double check my focus. 2-second timer. There it is. So this is going to be my last image of today. After this I'm going to pack up and head back. But having said that, I could literally spend all day here. This is just such an amazing place. And it's a huge area as well. And I feel like I've only really scratched the surface of the place. There's just so many amazing trees, and just so many amazing trees here, and it's just such a beautiful place. So I'll definitely be coming back. Some mist would be nice, wouldn't it? If I could come back here and it was nice and misty, that would be cool. But anyway, for now, as I said, this is going to be my last image. Now, with a tree that's moved me, even though it's only slight, that could cause problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my aperture right up to f4.5, and then I'm going to increase my ISO to ISO 200. That's high for me, that is. Now that's giving me 1/45 of a second. Now that should, I'm going to take the shot now because it feels like the wind is gone. Now that should be enough to freeze any slight motion in that tree. I'm just going to check now to make sure that that is the case, and it is. Yeah, that's pretty sharp now. Thank you for joining me. Hope you liked the video. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment as well, and I'll definitely reply to it. And if you haven't done already, why don't you subscribe so that you can see all my future videos, and I'll see you next time.